we're going to get started. So, primeramente, buenos días otra vez. Bienvenidos to the Chicanx Latinx Alumni Reunion. Woohoo! For the Cal Homecoming Weekend. And I know we're still in this transition of online, in person. So we really wanted to make people comfortable to do either or. So today we started with online, and then we're going to go to in person for our scholarship award and our reception. So bienvenidos. The theme this weekend for the community is come together. So coming together, and of course, on our end, como Latinas y Latinos, we're calling it En Comunidad. En Comunidad, creando comunidad, and con diversidad. That we are very diverse Latinx community. So we really want to highlight. So that, and of course, everybody knows it's the Latinx Heritage Month. So I just kind of want to shout out that we're celebrating ourselves twice and 3 times this month. So that's important. So that I want to just remind you all about that. So let me now formally introduce myself. Lupe Gallegos Diaz. I go by she, her, and ella. I am here, su servidora, como directora, the Chicanx Latinx Student Development Office, and also a lecturer in Ethnic Studies in the Chicano Latino Studies program. Es un orgullo estar con ustedes, and I am going to introduce my colleague, Diego Jacome, who is also a grad from Berkeley in 2006, and he works for Walt Disney as an Imagineering, you know what that means, an engineer, woo, an Ecuadorian American who majored in engineering with a minor in Chicano studies. So se lo va a pasar so he can do a small welcome. Diego.
Thanks, Lupe. So buenos días y buenas tardes a todos. It's a pleasure to be here. Being back on campus today, revisiting what it means to celebrate homecoming and to celebrate comunidad has been incredible. And unfortunately, even though all of us can't be in the same room, the day will come when we will, but let this be the path towards that. So I am very, very happy to be here. We're about celebrating, we're about empowering each other. And very soon we're gonna be talking to our students. We're going to be knowing exactly what we're about, which is essentially our own social capital. So it's my pleasure to be here with you all, and it's going to be a great day.
Yes, gracias, Diego. And I do want to remind everybody that after our online presentation, we're going to be handing out cheques, dinerito, to our students. We have about almost 40 students, I think, and who are going to get checks today from all the different chapters and the main organization. So we're really happy to do that. I think out of the 40 students or something, only 5 couldn't make it. So we're excited they're gonna come by the Latinx Research Center. We are gonna be physically on campus. And I do wanna just mention that we wanna thank the Latinx Research Center for actually allowing us to use the space. So thank you, Doctora Laura Perez. All right, shout out. So now it's my honor to now start the program. We are going to start first with Oscar Dubon, El Doctor Dubon, who is our previous Vice Chancellor of Equity and Inclusion. And just a little secret, I met him as a grad student, so that's how long I've known him. He's also a faculty in the School of Engineering in Material Science and Engineering. Again, another Cal grad, yay, yay, yay. So we're very happy to have him here today, and he'll be introducing our new Vice Chancellor. So Oscar, sending it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lupe. And thank you, Diego, as well, for just always leading Cal alumni in comunidad. I hope that all of you continue to find wellness in these challenging times. And I'm delighted to spend time with you at this special homecoming event. I say this as a Cal alumnus myself, as well as Lupe mentioned, as a Cal faculty member. I'm also a proud Cal parent. I'm a lucky Cal husband, and I am a recovering former Cal administrator. So I have a lot of Cals attached to me, and I'm very proud of that. And I feel truly fortunate to be here. Now I am truly privileged to introduce VCEI Dania Matos. Dania Matos was appointed 4th Vice Chancellor for the Division of Equity and Inclusion at UC Berkeley on August 16th, 2021. Prior to coming to Berkeley, she was the inaugural Associate Chancellor and Chief Diversity Officer at UC Merced. VCEI Matos holds a BA from Brown University and a JD from the Columbus School of Law at the Catholic University of America. Over the past decade, she has led equity and inclusion work in the private, nonprofit, and government sectors. She was the inaugural Deputy Chief Diversity Officer at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, and also served in the Public Defender's Office in Virginia. She has service in her heart and does it with great passion and strategy. I am thrilled that as VCEI, she now serves as a co-chair to the UC Berkeley's HSI Task Force and is the executive sponsor of multiple identity-based standing committees, including the Chicanx Latinx Standing Committee, which includes Latinx representation. So your voice is included in what happens at Cal. She leads with knowledge, vision, and love. I have seen this firsthand and am delighted that she is bringing this style of leadership to Cal. So please join me welcoming VCEI Dania Matos.
Gracias, Oscar. Oh my God, I feel so much love in the room already. Buenos dias. It's so good to be in comunidad, and as someone who centers that, it just makes my heart full of joy. So Oscar said I use she, her, ella pronouns. I am Cal adjacent, but now absolutely probably recovering administrator while in it at the same time. So it's so good to be with all of you and to be your new Vice Chancellor for Equity and Inclusion for such a time as this, and be celebrating with all of you. I've heard so many stories and have had a chance to meet some of you, only being in my 6th week here. But I can see already how dynamic the comunidad is. I identify as Latina, specifically Boricua, so my heart was full to see that there was Boricuas at Berkeley, and also as an Afro-Latina, so bringing that diversity and richness to our comunidad. So I feel especially right at home in this celebration with all of you. And I know you each mark an important part of the Cal history that speaks to the excellence, advocacy, sacrificio, and brilliance on this campus. As many of you know, we are still in the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has disproportionately affected and impacted our community. And still within that, UC Berkeley is working hard to celebrate the moments of joy. I recently set out a message to the entire campus that highlighted some of those done by all of you. And with the activism of the community, we will be opening our Latinx Students Resource Center, as we shared, in the early spring. And I'm so excited to be a part of that time and in that space. I see all the applause. Yes, very, very worthy. We also committed to becoming a Hispanic serving institution in 2027, building on the work that sort of Oscar created with so many of you on here. So it's an honor to be a privilege and part of that. We just announced Sylvia Marquez as the official HSI implementation manager, and we are working hard to put all those structures in place with the community and advocacy here. You all know that flat faculty cluster hires are a critical part, an important part of that work. And I know Dr. Mora is an important part of that. So we're looking to increase and amplify that at UC Berkeley. So it's not a designation, but really a place where we are cultivating that servingness for our community that really benefits all of us. We also have been producing the important research on the impacts on our different community through the Latinx Resource Center. So I encourage you to check those out, as well as I have a brother who's a climate justice person. So Latinx and the Environment Initiative is especially near and dear to my heart. And so climate justice truly, truly matters in this space. And so with that, I encourage you to read more of the messages, connect with me. Let's stay unified in our efforts, continuing for the advocacy for our community, not only to recognize us, but also to demonstrate their commitment through action. So congratulations on an awesome weekend. I look forward to meeting you each in person. And again, this community is always a part of me and near and dear to my heart, and I will continue my commitment through action for it and with it. Alumni support is integral to that effort, and so I thank you as a proud alumna of another space. I know how important it is to be involved with your time, talent, and treasure, and so I thank you for giving it so generously and for helping us continue to build. Gracias.
That was great. It was inspirational. I think we'll be on the right path to amazing things with your leadership. So we're very, very fortunate to have you here, and we can't wait to work with you to make a change. So that was incredible. And then it's my pleasure. I would like to introduce the president of CLA, who's going to give an even warmer introduction to one of our strongest allies in the Cal Familia. So Rene Con, who is a mentor of mine and someone who makes sure that I'm on track with things in our LA chapter. And as an LA native from Pico, we are happy to have you here with us today. So Rene,
excellent.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you everyone for being here, joining us. It's great to be among all you distinguished guests and speakers today. It's really a privilege to be here on campus again here after so many months. I wanted to take this time to really honor, and introduce a friend of mine I've known for quite a while. He is our new president of CAA. His name is Alfonso Salazar. I hope he can hear us. I think he's in commute. Oh, there he is. Oh, fantastic. A little bit about Alfonso. He graduated in 1990. He was a double major here at Cal, political science and ethnic studies, was recognized as a Woodrow Wilson Fellow. He holds a master's degree in public policy from the University of Michigan. He served as undersecretary for Gray Davis, and currently he is the senior director at KPMG. He is traveling with his lovely wife, Angela, and his 3 boys. They should be back there in the car somewhere. And so, we definitely look forward to working with CAA, and of course, Alfonso. We definitely see a lot of opportunities in the future ahead with your partnership and your leadership. And I definitely, I want to congratulate you on this great honor. So with that, Alfonso, if you have a couple words to say, thank you.
Rene, thank you, and thank Lupe for the invitation to be here today. Greatly appreciate everything that you both have done for the campus and continue to do for the campus. Let me first start off by sharing many of us, in our careers face many different hurdles and challenges. And this morning, my family and I faced a challenge. We actually severed a flat tire as we crossed the bridge from San Francisco to Berkeley this morning. So I'm sitting at the port of Oakland on a Zoom rather than being with you in a room. So we continue to overcome, we continue to break barriers, we continue to move forward, and that is the spirit of the Chicano Latino Alumni Association. And I'm so happy that for all the work you've done. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As Rene mentioned, July, I became the president of the Cal Alumni Association, and it's a quite fascinating organization. Back in 1872, the organization was established by the first 12 graduating members of UC Berkeley. And since then, we've remained an independent 501c3, serving alumni, connecting alumni together, and serving the University of California. Since then, our graduates have changed a little bit. There are more gente graduating from UC Berkeley than ever before. And our alumni house, the Alumni Association, belongs to all of us. And I am so proud to be leading the efforts of Cal Alumni today, and hopefully moving the organization in the right track in the future and serving all Cal alumni, all students from every corner of our great state and the great country. As many of you know, I am committed to welcoming, supporting, and encouraging all of our Chicana Latina students with the association. We do so much for our students, and I just want to make sure that we are all aware of the wonderful programs we have. Last year, we issued $3 million worth of scholarships to about 900 different students. And we need to make sure that all of our members, all of our colleagues have access and understand the wonderful scholarship opportunities that are available. For those of us who have graduated, there's about 30,000 active Cal alum engaged in clubs throughout California and the US. I want to continue to get us, more active in our clubs. And of course, we have a wonderful partnership with CLAW, with a couple of our clubs as well. Yeah, in addition to that, there are so many different programs that the Cal Alumni Association offers. One in particular, as a father of 3 children, we love the Lair of the Golden Bear. I didn't realize that the Cal Alumni Association owned and operated a campground. And it took me about 30 years to figure out that we had a campground and we actually have access to it. So for those of you who love camping, getting out into nature, we have a wonderful facility just north in Pinecrest, California, just north of Yosemite, where we can gather as a community and really kind of celebrate who we are and our accomplishments as Cal alumni. Also wonderful opportunities for our young folks to network with alumni as they think about career opportunities and guidance and need some counseling. This is kind of a lifetime, as you all know, you're committed to doing this, a lifetime adventure. And I just wanted to spend a few moments this morning to let you know that I'm here. I want to be part of this journey. I'm looking forward to teaming with all of you to making sure we have access and we continue to make this great university even greater, because it's great because of us. So with that, let me pause and once again, thank all of you. I'm so proud of everything we're doing. So proud to be Latino Chicano today, and so proud to join you from the port of Oakland this morning. So thank you so much, everybody.
Bravo. Thank you, Alfonso. Muchas gracias. It's true commitment right there. And I just want to also say that when Alfonso was a student here, he was an activist and an advocate. He was involved in a lot of movimiento. And I think that's really important to also lift the commitment that our students have had to transform and change the institution. And I do want to kind of do a shout out, because one of the things that our students our students in our indigenous communities have also reminded us that we also need to acknowledge that we are on Ohlone land, and that we need to remember our ancestors too. And I really want to do a shout out to our students and our indigenous communities who have been here, our Native Americans, who have really reminded us how we need to honor and respect that. So I really want to say that because it's part of that activism and that legacy, right? And so I want to do a shout out that we are still in Ohlone land, and that we need to continue to remind ourselves that we have our ancestors, and many of us come from a lot of those indigenous communities. So I'm just going to do a shout out on that. So I have the pleasure now to introduce the next alumni also, Elizabeth Ramirez. She is the legacy co-chair, working hard on getting our pachanga ready for 2022. She is a Cal alum from 2005, and she is born on the border, Tijuana, Mexico. Yay, Liz. And she currently works in the tech industry, which is really important for all of us, right? We got to get our community to be in all the different sectors. And so Liz, or, we know her by Liz, but Elizabeth actually has been making really great inroads in the tech industry. So con eso, I'm going to hand it over to Elizabeth to talk about the legacy event.
Thank you, Lupe. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for showing up on a Saturday. I know that, there's a lot of more exciting things we could be doing, but we're all in comunidad this morning, which is very exciting to be here with all of you. So back in 2018, I signed up to help co-chair this amazing event that was going to take place in 20. Well, lo and behold, we're going to be about 4 years by the time we get to the party, but we're going to get to the party. And we've been working really hard behind the scenes to make this happen. And so, first of all, I do want to say thank you to VC Matos and Presidente Salazar for joining us this morning and sharing those words of wisdom, as well as inspiring us to really continue to do this very important work. So we have our event coming up September 30th through October 2nd of next year. This is a 3-day event. So it is a reception. We have campus activities. We have a gala. We have a silent auction and our scholarship brunch. Very excited to announce that out of our $300,000 goal, $100,000 of that has now been pledged via our honorary committee. Major kudos to Lupe and to the entire team for helping us get that goal. It's a huge accomplishment. We're very excited to be moving forward now, specifically focused on our corporate and small business donors. So if you have any hookups, any connections, please feel free to let us know. If you want to join the fun, also let us know. We're also looking for help, those connections, conexiones, and introductions, as well as if you just want to give us your ideas, suggestions, they are all very welcome. I also want to acknowledge that we have champions. We're going to be hearing from Luz Grimaldo in a bit, and Oscar has also been, Oscar Dumont, thank you for also being a champion. So again, the team has been working very, very hard to make this happen. It's been fun times. Looking forward to planning again in person, but these are super important events that are going to be supporting our student programs and student scholarships. So although, it's going to be great to get together, really the point of this is to support our student community who are in critical need of services and are in critical need of scholarships, as things have gotten harder and harder financially for our students on campus, housing crisis, everything that they're going through. It's really important that we as their alumni are here to support them and move these important initiatives forward. So we welcome you to join us in these engagements, and we will continue to have ramp up activities throughout the year. So this was really our kickoff. And the rest of the year, we're going to create opportunities for space to come together, whether that's virtual or in person. We'll manage that as we go along. But it's just important to know that it's happening. It's coming together. There's still opportunities to help us out, but just know that we're looking forward to seeing you all next September, October of next year in 2020. Thank you.
Awesome. Gracias, Elizabeth. Thanks, Liz. Yes. And thank you to all of everybody who's here. I see a lot of honorary committee members right here in the Zoom. We actually have Carlos Rodriguez, Roberto Aro, Michael Trevino. I know Teresa. There's a lot of you. Thank you for your $1,000 donation. For those of you who didn't know, what we did is we asked 100 alum to give us $1,000. That's how we got the 100,000. So uno por uno, chiquito, chiquito, todos juntos hacemos grande. So that was really great. So Liz, thank you for all your work that you're doing as the co-chair. So I have the pleasure also now to introduce another Cal alum. Yay, lots of Cal alums from campus. Cruz Grimaldo. She is the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Director of Financial Aid and Scholarship Office. She is not only an awesome poet and performer and also my comadre, but she is a visionary. Why is she a visionary? Because she helped us at the beginning with our undocumented movement on our campus to secure financial resources for undocumented students and have those in place. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my comadre, Cruz Grimaldo.
Gracias, Lupe, for that very generous introduction. And I'm actually presenting today with my co-chair, Professor Kurt Organza. And so, Kurt, I will turn it over to you to start.
Thank you, Cruz. I'm Kurt Organza. I'm a professor of social welfare here on campus, and I'm the new-ish faculty co-chair for the Chicanx Latinx Standing Committee. I'm going to share with you a little bit about the committee's charge and some of its goals, but I really want to encourage you to go to the Division of Equity Inclusion website where it's all written out in much more detail. I want to thank Dania Matos for being just jumping into this committee and making sure that everything on the website is nice and shiny and clear. With regard to the charge of this committee, I want to share that, like a lot of people, on this call today, I belong to a lot of Latino-related committees over the years. In fact, I think I've belonged to about 5 or 6 currently. So when I was asked to join a standing committee, I was very intrigued by that term, standing committee, because it really refers to a permanent collective of students, staff, faculty, and alumni whose charge it is to provide oversight, support, integration, and cohesion to literally everything on campus that pertains to our growing and our thriving Latinx community. I want to also thank Oscar Dubon, who this was part of his initiative while he was executive vice chancellor here. Oscar, this is part of your legacy. You should be very proud of this part of your legacy, because our job is to inform and to advise, and I would even say push and nudge the chancellor's cabinet as needed to direct their attention, their energies, and their resources to the Latinx community on campus. In terms of goals, as I said, you can go to the website and read a bunch of goals, but let me see if I can describe it this way. I think our goals include being nimble enough to respond to the many Latinx related issues that come up every semester. Every semester you can count things coming up, and we have to be nimble enough to respond to those things. At the same time, we have at least two wells of Latino Latinx wisdom from which we continue to draw. And one of those is the Chicanx Latinx Task Force report from 2016 and 17. A lot of people worked hard on that. Cruz, you were on that report. Lupe, you were on that report. Oscar, you were on that report. So many. So we want to honor your work by making sure that we continue to recommend and prioritize how to implement things from that very report. That was a hard-hitting report. You guys pulled no punches. It was about the lack of representation, and if you don't have representation, then you have a neglected need. That's changing very rapidly. Oscar ascended to upper administration, as did Lisa Garcia Bedoya, and as did Genaro Padilla. And I mentioned them because they were professors at the time, I think, and then rose to upper administration. I also want to mention that Michael Trevino was on that report, and who's also on this call. So I want to make sure I raise him up. The other well of wisdom that we draw from is the current Hispanic Serving Institute Task Force. Again, people on this call and beyond, took their collective wisdom to make wonderful recommendations so that we can be a thriving community. Not just have the numbers for an HSI, but be a thriving community that I think, as Alfonso was saying earlier, it's not just good for the Latino community, but makes the university better. The last thing I'll say before I hand it over to Cruz is the way we work is we convene all the different constituencies, students, staff, faculty, and alumni. And while each of those groups represents the unique needs of their constituencies, We all work together, as Lupe would say, en comunidad. That's for real. We actually, with a lot of respeto, we listen to each other. We try to empathize and understand each other. So whatever we do for our different constituencies ends up serving the collective of Latinx folks on campus. That's an exciting committee to be part of. So I'm very proud, very honored to be a part of this committee, and it's been wonderful to co-chair this with Cruz Grimaldo, who continues to provide such immense leadership on campus. So Cruz, I will turn that over to you.
Gracias, Kurt. So as was mentioned, I'm the staff co-chair of the Chicanx Latinx Standing Committee, and I want to lift up Veronica's comment in the chat about Alianza, the staff organization that many of us on this call also chaired. I look at Veronica, Lupe, myself. We have also served as chairs of those organizations. And I'm wrapping up my service after serving both on the task force and for the past 2 years as the staff co-chair of the committee. And I think collectively, we're really proud that we've matured the committee to the point of stabilization and really successful succession planning. We formed a coalition of Chicanx Latinx community to formalize the membership process, and we developed procedures to carry out the committee's charge. Other accomplishments that are include, over the course of the past 2 years, we committed to bi-weekly meetings. And during this time, it allowed us to be nimble, to Kurt's point, about the really emerging concerns that came up, especially as it concerned our student workers who are on the front line serving as RAs during the COVID, during our current COVID pandemic, but as it was just emerging. And other accomplishments were prioritizing those recommendations. There were 52 recommendations in the initial report, and we sifted through those to really help lift up and advocate for the Latinx Resource Center and the staff needed to support that work. And we supported our students as they negotiated with campus entities in their quest for space. We provided feedback to campus leaders about some of the initial offerings, and also provided feedback about the process when we felt like perhaps there were opportunities to improve or make some processes more generative for our students. And we are thrilled that a dedicated space will be open for students in spring of 2022, and that a new assistant director of CLSD will soon be hired. As was mentioned, it's been a priority to increase the representation of Chicanx Latinx faculty and staff. And we are so energized and excited about the appointment of our new VCEI, Dania Matos, and have just been very inspired by your messages and your vision. And we're also thrilled about the naming of our new HSI project manager and of the faculty clusters that we know that are in progress. We worked really hard to promote the creation of faculty and staff oriented equity programs, and under the leadership of one of our amazing graduate students, these programs are in progress and they have great potential to scale and really help transform the academic aspects of our institution. And of course, we wholeheartedly support the implementation efforts on becoming a Hispanic serving institution. And in that regard, we met frequently with our campus enrollment management leadership team to build rapport, but also ensure accountability. And we submitted strong positions to the system-wide academic senate to eliminate the use of standardized tests in the UC admissions process. And we are so pleased that we welcomed our first fall incoming class. And so in closing, we are here for you. We want to hear from you. And we want to stay in touch with you on topics that you would like us to elevate to campus leadership. So gracias and go Bears.
Gracias, Cruz. And I also want to mention that Kurt, for those of you who don't, he's a professor in the School of Social Work. And I also want to say his activism also off campus. He was on the San Francisco Foundation. So thank you, Kurt, for your advocacy also on and off campus and the years of service you have for the university. Gracias, Profe. So I'm handing it over to Diego.
Thanks, Lupe. So it is my incredible pleasure and honor to introduce our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the presence of greatness. One of our own, Dr. Christina Mora, Associate Professor of Sociology and Chicano Latino Studies here at Cal, co-director of the Institute of Governmental Studies here at Cal. Amazing research, inspirational research on census racial classification, immigration, racial politics in our country, has been published repeatedly, and it can't be published enough, in my opinion. Has been featured in venues like The Atlantic, The New Yorker, NPR, and most recently, as part of our reaction to the pandemic in April of 2020, helped oversee one of the largest surveys that was done on how the pandemic has affected our comunidad. So we are happy to have you here, Doctora Christina Mora. The floor is yours.
Let me unmute myself. Great, it is so fantastic to be here. I just can't say enough how pleased I am to see so much community at all levels. I graduated UC Berkeley in 2003, and now I've just completed my 10th year as a professor on campus. And at all points, it's just amazing to see the level of community grow. More than what I experienced as a student back then, and as I have seen it grow. And I'm so excited. I was extremely excited when Professor Dubon became VCEI, and I'm just elated now that we have Dania Matos in that role. I just can't tell you enough how bright the future looks on campus. All right, great. So I was asked to speak a little bit about myself and a little bit about, what my experience has been like as a student and now as faculty on campus. And I guess what I want to start with, and I'll share a little bit about my story, but I also want to talk a lot about just where we are, like from a faculty perspective and where we can head forward, because I actually do think that campus is at a turning point. Latinos are now 40%, almost 40% of the California population. And I think that presents a real sort of, we can see that as a challenge, or we can see that as the promise of the UC system. And I think we're at that turning point where we can really coming together strategically, organizing, thinking things through, holding folks accountable, that we can really make that promise and that public mission a reality. One thing that I always think about when I think about UC Berkeley, it's so unique. We have so many #1 departments in the world. My sociology department is the #1 in the globe. We have the #1, social sciences department, psychology department, like around. We have research and expertise excellence on this campus. And we pair that with our ability to serve some of the neediest students in the nation, right? No other campus pairs that the way we do. No other campus. And I know some folks, might have gone to UCLA. Which will not continue to be named here, but no other research institution on that planet has that amazing combination where we have absolute excellence and a student body that is so diverse, that comes from so many experiences. And I have to believe that our excellence is driven by that. I have to believe that the classes I teach here at UC Berkeley produce and push me to be more excellent than the classes I used to teach at the University of Chicago or Princeton, where that richness of diversity and experiences, the questions that propel the basis of the social sciences, simply weren't as grounded in an experience of reality and social mobility and the impacts of inequality that should be driving the most pressing questions that we ask today, right? About the future of climate change, about the future of California policy, about the future of the nation, period. All right. So that's sort of my global take and perspective. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I'm actually from Pacoima. If anyone is out there from Pacoima, good, yay. I always ask this my first week of class. And, you know, when I first started, maybe I get 1 or 2 students every 2 years that would come up and sort of say, I went to San Fernando High too, and it warms my heart. And now I get much more. And I don't know what's happening, but wherever we're doing in admissions and CLSD, at the recruitment centers, we are making it happen. And that's fantastic to me. So I'm originally from Pacoima, and like many of you, I'm the first in my family to graduate from college. I came to Berkeley with, I don't know, less than $100 in my pocket and a suitcase. And I was homesick, and I was homesick, and I was homesick, and I was not prepared for Cal. Like many of you perhaps, but certainly like many of our students and the students that I see in my office hours, my freshman year was very hard. In fact, my first semester, I wondered whether UC Berkeley had made a mistake, whether I was a clerical error, whether I actually belonged. And it was really hard. I mean, the level of writing, the level of just understanding how to study, all of this just consumed me. And it really created almost a sort of crisis for me. You know, I had come from the public school system. I had been used to being a straight A student, top of my class. And I get here and, you know, that mismatch was huge. And now that I look back, it wasn't so much about whether, because I see this in our own students, it's not about whether we have it. It's just, do we have that secret knowledge, right, about where the resources are for studying? Are we invited to the studying groups? Do we know how to study? Has anyone told us the expectations? You know, I remember, you know, really thinking, do I need to go home? Slowly, with the help of more senior students and with amazing GSIs that I just lucked out, I started to gain a footing. But there were many things that were still sort of, you know, a challenge for me, like they might have been for you, and like they certainly are with our students right now. The first was just struggling with poverty, right? Working 2, sometimes 3 jobs a semester, only being able to take classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays because Mondays and Wednesdays I worked, or vice versa, right? And just sort of really, you know, I remember sometimes only being able to buy a bagel in the morning and stretching it out so I could buy something, you know, at dinner time. Now I'm much more heartened to see changes on campus. Things like the Berkeley Food Pantry are a lifesaver for so many of our Chicano and Latino students, period. And, you know, things like that, knowing that I could go somewhere and get the box of cereal, the bag of rice, the bagels, and that I wouldn't go hungry, you know, would have gone a long way for me, you know, with stress, with sort of the mounting pressures of schoolwork. Aside from that, the other thing I really remember about Berkeley in those early years is having to navigate everything on myself. The way that we know, you know, what's so special about the fact that we've now coined the idea of the first generation, right? Part of that is that we've now identified a set of challenges and experiences that some students have that others don't. One of that is just not having a mentor, just not having a freaking roadmap for how to do the next 4 years. You know, we have in our head an idea that higher education is about a time of experience and growth and discovery. Spend all this time reading books, making friends, going to parties. That's fantastic for those students that have the resources. That is a way of thinking about growth, but not all students have that, right? I remember if you just layer on the work, if you just layer on the imposter syndrome, if you just layer on the fact that you're so far. I remember I didn't go to office hours until my junior year. I spent 2 whole years not going to office hours. I remember sitting in the back of my classes, in my sociology classes, not daring to raise my hand or participate. And then something clicked for me. I happen to just absolutely love sociology. For me, it provides a way of thinking about the world, of understanding racism and inequality and the processes that happen. And a lot of that clicking happened to me, you know, around my sophomore year. And I realized this is not just me. This is not just about me feeling that I don't have a voice or not being allowed to speak. This is systematic. There are subsets of students that are made to feel like they belong less, that are made to feel by the institution that they might be a clerical error. And I remember just sort of gathering the confidence to go to office hours. And I remember walking to it, and I run into my friend Alex. And Alex is the son of a farm worker from the Central Valley. And he's like, "Where are you going, compañera?" And I'm like, "I'm going to office hours." And he looks at me and he's like, "Oh my gosh, why? Why did you do something wrong?" And I said, "No, I think we have to go. I think if we don't go, we don't know what our path is after. We don't know, you know, I think we need letters of recommendation. This is the way that we were piecing it together by ourselves. Nobody was there to sort of show us. We were not the blind leading the blind, but piecing these together." And I think so fondly about that, because now that I teach my classes, I spend at least the first 2 lectures talking about the importance of owning your voice, talking about the fact that I want my class to be not simply a space where all students learn critical reading skills and critical writing skills, but I want all my students to learn critical speaking skills. I'd love, you know, I try to foster a sense of community in my classes where students know that their voice needs to be heard, because, you know, I do a lot of things on campus. I also run an institute where we have a public service internship. And I often think Berkeley students are so damn special, so special. I mean, if I just tell you how special Berkeley is because it has this unique combination of a public mission and absolute research excellence, what makes our students special is they have some of the best training in the world by some of the best people in the field. And our students bring to this table this sort of research training, a sort of deep sense of commitment to social justice often. And at least that's what I see in the social sciences. And I don't really see that deep combination of a commitment to a better world, of a commitment to a new future that could be developed with this amazing training put together. And so because I think of students that way, or our students that way, I believe that Berkeley students need to be in every single decision-making table out there, whether that be the nonprofit sector, the private sector, the medical field, academia. You know, that's the way I sort of feel. And I strive to create those spaces on campus as much as a professor can, right? In my classes, when I speak to student groups, I remind them, you have a voice. You have 4 years to develop that voice, because we will need that voice to change the world. We will need your excellence, your training, the knowledge that you know, all these books, the knowledge that you have compiled, and we will need your voice. And I think that, you know, I'm not unique at this. Kurt's here. You know, I think Kurt provides those spaces. We provide that message. But when I think also about what my experience, you know, now that I'm a faculty, what that looks like, I can tell you all the things that I want, but I can also tell you that the experience is very lonely, right? You know, when I went to Princeton for my graduate program, I went from the Pacoima girl that moved to Berkeley to now the girl that's in the East Coast. And when I was there, there were more international students from Turkey than there were underrepresented Latinos in the grad school. Like, this is how much of a lonely sort of space, develops as you go further and further up the ladder, right? And now I'm a tenured professor in the #1 department in the world. There's not that many of us. And in fact, Latinas, although Latinos are 20% of the US population, Latinas make less than 2% of full professors in Research One universities. I mean, and as I now direct the oldest research institute in the state of California. And as I become director, and as I, continue to sort of develop in my career, the spaces only get a little bit less represented, more lonely, more isolated. And so I think I say that to also sort of note what a lot of Latino professors do on campus, right? The only way to combat that loneliness is to also dedicate this time and space to making a change. And I think all of us are doing it. And I think we do it in 2 ways, or at least I try to do it in 2 ways. The first is I continue to be just sort of the academic at heart. I have joy. I think I have the best job in the world. I spend my mornings reading and writing, bearing witness to Latino history, using Latino data, collecting Latino data, writing reports, writing op-eds, writing articles about Latinos. Why? Because if we're less than 2%, it means we're not shaping the public narrative. It means that we need to create more studies. We need to create more narrative shaping pieces that will really bring light and bear witness to who Latinos are in this country. I remember being an undergrad at UC Berkeley and taking courses like the sociology of family, and I would never read anything on Latino families. And this sort of anger at feeling invisible, feeling underrepresented has continued to fuel me to now. We talked briefly about the impacts of COVID in California, right? And, when the pandemic started, the first thing I thought is, I need to pause everything. Everything I'm doing needs to stop right now. I bet you no one is collecting Latino COVID data. We need to stop. And we shifted the entire thing we did at IGS, and we ran the largest statewide survey on COVID, and we produced some of the first policy briefs and press releases on the effects of COVID on Latinos and African Americans and Native Americans in the state. It's the first thing we did, because like many of my other colleagues, I believe that we're only as good, our research, is only as good as it can get out to the public. If it sits behind an academic firewall, if we stay mired in simply theoretical, while they're great theoretical academic debates, I'm also fueled by what are we doing? How is the university rising to this challenge? How am I using my tools, my experience, my background to sort of say something important about what's happening in society now? So in California, while Latinos make up less than 40%, around 40% of the California population, there were 75% of COVID deaths in the working age adult bracket. And what happened? I remember sort of seeing this and then clicking on sort of new announcements. It was a big Harvard study that was going to actually tell us about sort of the intersectional effects of COVID across America. And what did they do? They failed to report Latino data, right? And as I sat there and I see op-ed after op-ed, sort of continue with the invisibility, it's all these things that fuel us. It's all these things that show me there's so much work that's still to be done. And so the second part of what I do, aside from trying to make sort of, this is why I do so much radio, this is why I do so much, op-eds, this is why I do, I feel, because I think that part of what our mandate is, at least for me, is to make sure that these narratives get out to the public, right? And in a way that's accessible. You know, I write op-eds in Spanish in a way that even my parents might be able to read them in one day. I think the second thing what we do is we try to be change makers on campus. Kurt's here. Kurt is the head of the Latino Faculty Association. I was used to be the co-chair as well until I took on other positions. But Kurt and I have worked so hard to develop campus proposals requesting, you know, demanding, actually, I'll be more assertive, more Latinos on campus. Our work is still continuing. You know, there's more to be done. We've continued in meetings, but this is all unspoken, invisible work. You know, what am I evaluated on as a regular professor? How many articles did Christina publish and how many classes did I teach? Underneath all that, though, is all the other work that we do. No one sees all the extra time we spend in office hours, all the time that we spend talking to students about, have you prepared for next summer? Did you get your internship? Calling them sometimes because we know that COVID impacted their families. Being all of sort of the extra emotional labor that we have to give because our community needs this support. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, I still think this is the best job in the world. I think that this is an amazing time at UC Berkeley. I think that there are a lot of challenges, but I have not in 10 years seen such ripe and ready opportunities for change as I see right now. We've mentioned the Chancellor's commitment to HSI. You know, we've mentioned that the Latino Studies Cluster has been approved. Campus just 2 days ago told Kurt and I that they're going to pledge a significant sum of money behind that LDC cluster. We've mentioned now the HSI program. You know, if I were to think of what's a way that alumni might be able to help, you know, right now, with whatever letters you can write to support the HSI, to ask about whether there are resources behind the ask that we already have for HSI, whether there are more resources for perhaps more than one implementation coordinator, whether there are more plans for more faculty, whether campus is creating a pipeline program for postdocs, GSI, for more students at the graduate level. I think it's right now. UCLA, which is the last time I'll mention it, just announced their huge commitment to increasing Latinx faculty between 15 and 30 positions. You know, I don't think we ever take a backseat to UCLA, and I think this is a great way for us not to. Campus has approved 5 of them. I would love 15 to 30 as well. And we're working really hard to let administration know that that we can't sort of stay behind, and that if we are truly to live to our promise, if we are truly to be that great public institution that is a light and an example and unique amongst all, then we cannot let this moment pass. We need to take the mantle. We need to really stand behind our efforts for equity, diversity, and real inclusion, because this is our turning point, this is our moment, and there's incredible power in organized voices. So thank you.
Gracias. Diego, I think you're on mute. Oh, there.
I am on mute. I apologize. I was very moved by that. I had goosebumps throughout, and that's what I think is the beauty of creating comunidad like this, that we get to be inspired by each other, and then hopefully, you know, we take the mantle in inspiring the next person. So, Professora Mora, absolutely incredible. And with that, we can't follow up. There's no following up to that. We are going to now demonstrate our commitment to our students by giving a little bit of scholarship help and hopefully mentorship and hopefully stewardship and all of that in congruence with what we've been talking about today. So it's been a pleasure. And I think, Lupe, you're next.
Yes. No, gracias, Profesora Mora. Those were definitely inspiring, and that we have a lot of work before us. And I actually also, as we are closing down the program, I also want to call in another alum that just passed away, Cruz Reynoso, a grad from here, from the School of Law in 1958. And I want to shout out his name because he was a child, one of 11 children. If we talk about resilience and dedication, and he was our first, he was our first Supreme Latino court into the justice system. That is amazing. So I hope that our Alumni Association will continue to have bright and brilliant scholars and practitioners and politicians and activists, just like Cruz Reynoso. So I do want to remember them and also think about how is we alumni going to actually not only remember them in regards to what we might maybe hint, a statue on campus, a bench or something, because it is definitely a legacy of humility and humbleness that he showed through his own work and his own journey. So muchas gracias, familia. We were in community. We are going to continue La Pachanga, the scholarships now, handing out those chequecitos for our students that are going to be waiting downstairs for us. Muchas gracias to everybody and the honorary committee. I see more people arrived. I saw Vladimir there. I saw other people too from our honorary. Muchas gracias. And with this session, we'll close it and we'll all see you downstairs who can actually come in person to the Latinx Resource Center. Muchas gracias y adelante, comunidad. Seguimos en la lucha. Adiós. Go Bears and go Osos y Osas.